All right, I hope this works. I got the cordless mic on. Whew. Finally recording the way I used to, the way I always liked to with my other Canon camera, with those big mountains behind me like this. That's where the other people are, all over right here. Always. All these mountains. No footprints right there. Heard a yell right there before. Not like a scary yell, but definitely a big loud yell, but whatever. Anyway, it's another one of my favorite places right here. I hike up. I've been hiking up way up here for years. Setting trail cameras and migration trails and stuff. Snooping around, having fun. And finally back here is one of my favorite places in the whole world right here. I hope this backdrop's working out the way I want it to. This wind's screaming. I hope it's not going to kill my microphone, but we'll find out, won't we? Now, going to hear some voices. I got some screenshots, some comments. Remember a while back somebody emailed in and said they found an arm, and then all of a sudden hell broke loose and they saw something scaring the shit out of them. They got the hell out of there. Well, somebody commented about that in the comment section. This is from Ross. My friend Roger had told me that story of him and his hunting buddy / landowner. It was late in the afternoon and they were hunting near Spokane, Washington on Micah Peak, and had found a large detached human-like arm with hide / fur rotted and hanging from it. From what I remember him saying, the skeletal arm looked like a human arm / hand, but much larger. Larger diameter bones and long finger bones. At that moment, a god-awful screaming started up above them. Roger's friend flipped out and took off running in the wrong direction. Robert yelled and yelled for him to stop, and he finally got his buddy to calm down, and they started to hike back to the truck. The creature was roughly a quarter mile behind them, screaming at them as they busted ass to get up the mountain. I believe this happened back in the 1990s. And here's the kicker. After he told the story, I asked him, "Do you guys still talk / stay in touch?" "Nope," he said, "not after that happened. They worked together, but the hunting and friendship ended." I thought it might, which is a common occurrence. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Doesn't that suck? It's such a weird thing with humans that share that traumatic experience, and then they're like, "See ya, we're not friends anymore." So weird. Here's another comment from Mr. Snafu 1973, the name on the YouTube handle. I've had many strange experiences. One night I saw yellow glowing eyes in the woodline. The next day I investigated the area. I found one triangular imprint and had a sense of being watched. The fear I had felt the night before washed over me. I put my defense tools back in the house and went back to the backyard. I started chopping wood. I got a strong sense of being watched. I looked up and there was a shimmering being, no BS, like the predator. It seemed to notice that I could see it. It turned, seemed to run, and leapt back into an oak tree and zipped out the top and was gone. I've heard running on the roof. I was walking down the road at night and had footfalls run up on me. When I turned, there was nothing there. I walked a little further and heard a 6-second long metallic chirping. A couple I saw asked me if I had heard it, and it was like nothing they had ever heard. I heard it again when I was hunting a couple of problem coyotes one it was only 3 seconds this time, and it was close. It honestly scared me to the point I went home and no longer desired to go hunting alone, especially at night. Yeah, I don't think anybody hunts at night, but don't feel bad about your response. It's a common one. It's a common one. I used to have to talk myself into coming up here. Don't anymore, I just do it. But anyway, here's another one. Hi Steve, I wrote a little bit about what happened to me trapping beaver in Connecticut. I'd like to say a little more, but for some reason I'm scared for my life. That I have told a couple of folks, and now I've been approached by some guy who knew everything about me and what happened. These things are so real. and I believe they are being hidden from the public for some reasons. This guy told me that I was seeing things. I should stop telling folks lies. I worked for the government in Connecticut for 31 years, and I'm a stand-up guy. This creature was well over 10 feet tall and was just standing there as I pulled a trapped beaver out of the water and was only 20 feet away. I will never ever go out alone again. The smell and the face are so scary, and the mind control is what scared me the most. I had no control of myself and was under, hold on, I had to flip the page as a double screenshot. Over 10 feet tall, 20 feet, I'll never go out alone again. The smell and the face were so scary, and the mind control is what scared me the most. I had no control of myself and was under control by something I can't describe. Just keep the great work going, bro. This thing has changed and ruined my outdoor fun. Oh, that sucks, my man. I hate hearing that. Try to follow my lead, you know what I mean? Just try to gain courage from watching me as I navigate my outdoor life, my life in the real world, without letting it go, you know? I'm still up here by myself, and they are all around me here. Just so you know. Something just for me, an email. What's this one? Why did I screenshot this? This is from Sean Ryan. Great guy, good podcast. And he made a comment, the truth of the world has become something that has to be earned. You must work to find it in just about every aspect of life. The more time that passes, I realize the harder it becomes to find media, the internet, people with strong opinions that refuse to explore other perspectives, and most of all, governments have made it almost impossible to find because of their own agendas and their own ambitions and the darkness they surround themselves in. They become trapped within their own lies. The truth lies at the source. We should never have to be afraid to ask questions. Questions educate us, they help bring us to a baseline understanding. I guess that's why I screenshot that from Sean Ryan. Valid words. Oh, and it continues on. Why have certain questions become forbidden to ask? It is because some questions skirt too close to the actual truth, which makes the entities, organizations, and people I've listed above uncomfortable. They never want to be exposed. The truth also lies in your gut instinct. Whether you're Christian, Hindu, Jewish, Muslim, whatever, most everyone believes in God. God is the source. God communicates to you through your gut instinct. Learn to lean into that. Learn to trust that. Let it guide you. Hear, read, listen, and research all perspectives. Formulate your own instincts. Do not ever let someone formulate that for you, or you will become misled. I don't know what led me to write this, but I feel compelled to. Have a great day. And I'm glad he did. Worthy words to share with the world, right? I don't know how often we talk about the gut here, right? Here's another one. I think this is from a Facebook post. Melissa Danis, Nelson, BC. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this experience. Last night, a girlfriend and I were driving home from Halfway Hot Springs around 9:30 p.m. and pulled off the side of the highway just before the cusp. She stepped out to take a pee, and we both heard an extremely loud and terrifying, echoing, howling sound. I've never heard anything like it before. She jumped back into the car real quick, and we saw this black furry animal-like creature run across the highway. She managed to grab her phone after it crossed and snapped a picture. We were both so rattled because it didn't look like a bear and it was running on its hind legs. It happened so fast, and I'm really questioning what I saw. Has anyone experienced anything like this? What other animals could be in this area that look like this? I remember that. And then there was a couple of, I don't have the pictures, but if you guys search that on Facebook, you'll see it. Same old shit. It's just something black standing on its hind legs. Where's my camera? There it is. Something black on its hind legs inside of the highway. What else? What else? I got another one here. Here's a comment, a screenshot. Mikey Costellini, 6817. I got serious sunshine on my face here. Steve, this is Mikey Ebbets Pass from Big Tree State Park, about 12 miles south, but Where I heard the screaming was north of Big Trees State Park, about 35 miles. Let's just say highlands, lakes. There was a small creek between two lakes. Well, anyway, it was 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. I was fishing in the dark brush because certain trout won't bite if they see you. But the screaming I heard was first some footsteps, then the screams, then foot stomping. Then it seemed something else was larger behind whatever was screaming. So this screaming was not from the west, because the screaming I heard was like a woman being beaten and running for its life. But I was on the other side of the creek, and I started to walk fast back to the scout truck, and I did leave most of my fishing equipment, so I did hear something larger basically stalking. Is that it? That's it. Screenshot. All right, let me get some of these screenshots out of here so I don't try to read them again one day. I'll admit I look around over my shoulder up here all the time. I can't help it. Never have been able to not, but whatever. Yes, you fight through it, right? Just enjoy your time of life. It's yours too, to do with as you please. Now, what's this one? Nope. All right, I'm gonna get some emails in a second here, guys. I'm just looking through my albums. Now, who do we got? Let's listen to some people, shall we? This email is titled, "The Loudest Roar I've Ever Heard." Roar I've ever heard. Hi, Steve. I hope this email finds you and Sarah well. Please don't use my name. All right, I got you. I don't know if my story is club worthy or not. I don't even know what I heard and experienced. I was in high school, and my friend, the guy I dated a few times, and myself went to this farm. My friend boarded her horse. This farm is a few hundred acres, and it was located on a river. It had a house on the land, but we were far from the house. It was dark, and this guy was going to introduce us to pot. But before we even had a chance to light up, there was the loudest roar outside of the car I've ever heard in my life. It was so loud we had to cover our ears with our hands. We were in a VW Bug, and my friend and I were screaming at the guy to go, go, go. We thought something had a hold of the bumper because the tires were spinning in the dirt but not moving. It scared us to death. I messaged the guy the other day and I asked him if he remembered that night, and he said he didn't. That was in the early 70s. I don't know how you could forget it. We never talked about it. But a couple months later, my friend and I thought it would be fun to spend the night in the hayloft of the stable on the same farm. We convinced ourselves that the roar we heard that night was a deer outside of the car. I never heard a deer make that sound. That you have to cover your ears because it was so loud. We both told our parents we were staying in each other's houses. Again, the house and the farm was not close to the stable at all. It was late. We were starting to doze off. And suddenly all the horses were going wild in their stalls and screaming. A few on one side were kicking the outside wall in their stalls. We didn't make a sound. Now the area where we live doesn't have any large predators. Maybe once in a blue moon, a black bear would swim from Virginia to southern Maryland, but it is rare. I'm 68 years old and I've never seen one in all my years, but what's funny is a couple of days ago, the local newspaper warned that there was a sighting of 2 black bear in the area. It's just over the past maybe 15 to 20 years we've had coyotes. We're not moving or making a sound, and this lasted maybe all of 30 minutes, but it felt like hours. Finally, the horses quieted down. We didn't sleep at all after that, and we couldn't wait for the sun to come up. Finally, it was daylight, and we were afraid to leave the hayloft. During the night, we kept hearing something walking around, and something was messing with the cans that held the feed for the horses. We climbed down from the hayloft, and a pony was out of his stall, and it was him helping himself to the sweet feed. We went to a horse's stall, and his coat looked like he had been running for miles. You know, a horse has been sweating and it dries. He made a trench from running around in his stall. His stall had a window up near the ceiling that measured about 12 inches wide and 6 inches tall, and I guess to let the light in. It was high enough that maybe a horse, if it stretched up with its nose, it might be able to touch it. Well, something had broken that window from the outside. All the glass was inside her horse's stall. All the horses on that side of the stable, the same side that her horse was, all looked like her horse. Like they were running all night and had been sweating. The floors, the stalls were hard dirt with sawdust, so you could definitely see they had been through something that night. It looked like they had dug a trench in their stalls. Well, like I said, I don't know what we experienced, and I don't know if it's club worthy, but neither of us ever spoke about it. We didn't think anyone would believe us, and of course we were exaggerating. Unfortunately, my friend has passed away, so I cannot talk to her about it. I stumbled upon your YouTube channel, and I've been procrastinating on telling my story. Nothing like anyone else's terrifying stories. Thank you, Steve, and God send blessings to you and Sarah, and be safe out there. All right, appreciate that email, and I got you. You know what it was. And it, of course, is club worthy. You're an honest, brave person. You came forward with your truth and you shared it, hoping maybe somebody could add to it or learn from it, right? That's what we're here for. This next email is titled Episode on the Pacific Coast Highway. 12 years old. Older brother Carl is 22 years old and already stationed in Vandenberg Air Force Base. He got me up before 5 a.m. to go fishing down on the coast, and we drove to the Balboa estuary, just east of Balboa Beach. Excuse me. Balboa Beach was called Tin Can Beach. Excuse me. For a long time because it was a dump site until the cleanup. He stopped his car and said there was a problem with the engine and pulled over on the dark, barely lit PCH. He got out, went to the front of his car, opened the hood and shouted, "Johnny, come and see." I pulled the door handle back towards me and the door unlocked. I pushed it outward and I got out into the dark weeds as tall as I was, with coarse sand underfoot. Making my way around the passenger front into the headlights, with an angry shout, he pushed me backwards into the water area, which wasn't that deep, but was below the road surface and away from the car. So I'm trying to regain my balance and soaked to the bone in the cold water, and Carl slammed the car hood shut, and then he's laughing loudly and drove away north on the dark highway. I was screaming at him to come back, and by the time I got out of the drainage ditch, his taillights were going north, where all I saw, getting smaller by the second. No other cars around. And there I was again, abandoned by my older brother, probably under the orders by my parents, who every day told me I should be dead to give my poor mother respect. What? This is nasty. I now hated them and just picked up handfuls of dirt and sand and threw them into the highway center. I was wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt and socks and Converse tennis shoes and no other supplies. I stood there crying and hating them so bad I wanted them to die. I wanted them to choke on their breakfast. I wanted my so-called family to all get struck by a bolt of lightning and fry their heads till they popped off. I hated them. And then I heard a faint voice inside me say, "Johnny, be smart, be safe, start walking this way." So I started walking east into the estuary along the drainage ditch Carl had pushed me into. I was halfway into the water and halfway on the weedy ground. No lights around at all. The stars were out and beginning to fade away to the approaching sunrise when I found an old half-sunken boat on its side on a little sandy beach area. I saw a diesel truck down on the highway going past the area where Carl stopped. I yelled and realized there's no way the driver would even hear me. As I climbed onto the upper deck of the old wood boat, it creaked, but it didn't move. I sat on the rough, peeled paint front deck and sat there and cried, laying my forehead into my hands, asking my Heavenly Father, why did they treat me like this? It wasn't my fault I was born a boy, was it? I asked loudly, and mad again, asking. No, I was yelling at him, why? But no answers came as I was still crying. So many moments at the hands of my living family, I hated them so much at that moment. I hit my fist on the boat repeatedly and cried more. The water behind me made a bubbling sound and I thought, great, now I'm going to get eaten by a monster. But no monster appeared, only the little boat moved and I heard a rough voice say, "Always safe, little brother," which I started crying like I am right now, recalling this moment. And as I glanced toward the voice, I saw a large, black-haired beast with its hands on the raised side of the boat, maybe 4 feet away. And I shrieked with fright. And again the voice said, "Always safe." I cried and asked why my family does this to me loudly. I heard it say, "You are chosen from birth to walk a different path and they are afraid." I asked again why they try so hard to hurt me. And it said, "You walk a different path." I said, "I just want to go home," crying and not understanding really why. It's taken many episodes and years for me to accept this path. My painful moments when betrayal is the only commodity. Betrayal by the family, which is supposed to protect and help their children grow up to be productive adults. But my family seems hell-bent on destroying me, to destabilize my short life, and I still didn't understand. I cried out loud and asked again, why do they do this shit to me? Crying and holding my face in my hands, a hairy hand rubbed the top of my head and it repeated, "Always safe, little brother," in a more stern voice. I didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. Then the hand was removed from my head and from the boat side, and I heard washing sounds as I peeked out from between my fingers, and it was wading through the channel further away south from me, obscured by tall bushes and trees. I stood up best that I could and shouted at its back, quote, "Now what am I supposed to do?" with great pain in my voice, but it just kept getting further away and it didn't respond. I must have sat there whimpering for a good hour when I heard a man's voice ask, "Are you okay?" As I looked up in the early morning light, I saw an old man with a fishing pole and a bait box in his hands. He is dressed in old light green long pants and a long sleeve light colored plaid shirt with a tan colored boonie style brimmed hat on with a few fly hooks on it. I looked up and he put his gear down on the sand and asked again, "Are you okay? Are you lost?" I didn't know what to say. If I told him what happened, then the police would get involved, and then the South Gate police would be contacted, and they would say I'm a mental case because they, too, were involved with the sex cabal, and my parents had great controls in place to squash any investigations. This has sounded pretty dark. All I said was my brother left me up the road and I wandered here. That much is true. He said with a calm voice for me to climb out of the boat, and then I followed him for a long walk through the bushes and low trees to a house further northeast on the edge of the water. He put his bait box and pole down in the sand next to the door and opened it with a slight hinge creaking sound. He stepped in, lit a match to light the tabletop candle, which lit the room. It was a small kitchen. The table had books stacked up on it. And then he walked into another adjacent room and lit the lantern with a match. I just stood in the doorway unsure what to do. He introduced himself as Mr. Bailey and asked for my name, and I answered simply, "Johnny." He asked if I was hungry, and I nodded my head, and he motioned for me to sit at the only chair at the small square kitchen table. He took another match and lit a small camping gas stove on top of the counter and said he was going to fix some eggs. Did I like eggs? I responded, "Yes, I like scrambled eggs." As I sat there looking at the books, he put an old army coat over my shoulders and asked where I was from. Somehow I knew I could trust him and replied, Southgate, California." "Oh," he said. "Is that somewhere north?" With a question in his slow voice, I affirmed it was South Central LA. As he finished scrambling the eggs, he asked if I would like a piece of bread too, and I said, "Yes, please." After a few minutes, he placed fresh scrambled eggs and a piece of wheat bread in front of me on what I thought was a metal plate. I said thank you, and I was scooping the eggs up with the bread in my fingers before he could put a fork on the table. I must have ate like an animal. Eggs tasted good and warm. Then he asked if I was thirsty, and I nodded. He gave me a big glass cup full of water he had thrown down from a kitchen faucet. I drank it halfway down and put it back on the table. He said my daughter Gina will be along soon and she can drive you back home if I wanted to go. I almost asked him if I could just live there with them. He said he'd trade places with me if I'd get up and he could sit down and eat, and I did. As he ate some eggs and bread, I walked into the front room where there were many shelves filled with books of all different sizes. Many more were stacked on the floor on either side of the couch where a dark sleeping bag was stretched out. The east window was showing the morning sun through the cream-colored curtains. When he finished, he said, "Excuse me, Gina has arrived." I heard a car engine shut off, and in walked a red-haired girl who looked as old as my older sister Lisa, about 20 years old. I picked up a book about trees when I heard him ask her if she could drive me home, and she replied, "Yes, Dad." Then she stepped into the room where I was and asked me for my address, and I said what I was drilled by my mom to remember: 8917 San Juan Avenue, Southgate, California, 90210. As of writing this, I need to check that zip, not sure of it now, some 54 years later. She motioned to me to follow her outside to her old off-white 70s Chev station wagon. I turned around and reached out to shake Mr. Bailey's hand and thanked him for the food and for finding me. And I asked if I could visit him sometime, and his smile just calmed me, and he reassured me that would be okay. Said goodbye. With a hand wave, I walked to the waiting car. Gina, who had her dark red hair cut short around her head, asked for the address one more time and then backed out down along the raised sandy driveway to an old paved road and turned around. And now we're driving on a city street past many small houses. And as I write, I'm crying and remembering this like it was yesterday. Grateful. After about an hour, she pulled in front of my house on the San Juan Avenue. Nobody was home. There were no cars in the driveway on a Saturday morning. Mom's always home on a Saturday morning. The car wash across the street was in full operation. I thanked Gina for the ride and got out, shutting the heavy door, and stood there between the tree and the front street lamppost and watched her drive south towards Southern Boulevard. I made my way west down the house driveway on the north side of the back door. Pulled my key from the molding of the back door and unlocked the door, then replaced the key in its hiding spot. Going inside, I noticed 2 breakfast plates in the kitchen sink with Carl's telltale sign of too much black pepper on the yellow egg yolk on the plate. So he came home. Mom made him breakfast. I stood there wondering how that conversation went. I went into the front room and opened the east front curtains. Then went into the bathroom, washed my hands. I noticed my face and clothes were dirty, so I took a bath, changed into my jeans, shorts, another white t-shirt, threw my dirty clothes into the hamper in the kitchen next to the washer. It was about 9 a.m. when I heard a car door on my driveway and the front door opened and my mom came into the house, and I heard her ask if someone is here. Stepped out of my bedroom and into the bedroom's hallway and I said, "Yes, I'm home," and she shrieked loudly. She just stared at me for some reason like I was a ghost or something. I said, "I got a ride home from a lady named Gina." Mom just stood there shaking her head back and forth in disbelief. I asked if I could go for a bike ride and she answered yes, and then quickly gave me $1 to get a half a gallon of milk from the store since we were out. I rode to the local grocery store west on Firestone Boulevard, about 3 blocks away, and in about 15 minutes I was back, and when I was stepping into the back door I overheard her yelling at someone on the phone. Thought it might be someone who owed her money. I didn't think twice about it. As I put the milk carton in the old refrigerator and folded the paper sack and placed it on the pile on the kitchen table, she abruptly hung up when she heard me in the kitchen. She stepped onto the doorway between the front room and the kitchen. She asked me loudly, "Who is this Gina who gave you a ride back?" in a very stern voice. I stated she was the daughter of Mr. Bailey, the old fisherman, who had found me after Carl pushed me in the water. She almost shouted at me, "Johnny, go," whoops, shit, sorry, I just lost my spot. "Go get in the car and tell me where his house is." She behaved as though I had broken a law, her rule. As we drove back to Balboa Beach, she didn't say a word. We listened to the car radio. I motioned that road there goes to a sandy road and the house is at the end by the estuary. She drove down the sandy road to an old dilapidated house with no roof, and the walls had caved in. And I got out and looked, but it had no signs of life for many years. All the windows had been broken out, and in the sand next to the broken down doorway was a broken fishing pole. Holy shit, the wind's ripping right here. I hope this is working. I stood there in disbelief because this house didn't look like this morning. I called for Mr. Bailey and Gina as my mom stayed in the car, but there was no answer. To this day, here I sit and cry, understanding that there were angels sent to help me get home. My mom was white as a ghost. I think she had a vision and didn't say a word as we drove back home. End of email. That was a little different flavor email. Sounds like a chapter out of a book you've written about your life, and I'm sorry to hear it was sounds like not such a happy one. Very interesting. See if anybody else can relate to what you just shared. We'll see, right? Interesting and alarming. Man, I hope this cordless mic's working, you guys. Because I can't tell, but it is noisy and windy all around me. This next email is titled Behind the Black Curtain. Hi Steve, please do not share my name or email. I gotcha. The controllers wish to keep knowledge of our shared reality hidden behind what I'm referring to as a black curtain. Appreciate your stories which expand our known reality. As our collective knowledge of our world expands, we all gain power to make better choices. I am sending out a big thank you to you and everyone who has sent in their experiences. Here's my first contribution to expanding our collective understanding of the world we live. During the years of 1958 through 63, my contact worked as an A&P mechanic on the only existent and/or experimental aircraft. A&P stands for Airframe and Power Plant. My contact was given a short time to live a few years ago and shared a few stories relating to this earlier experience. He worked on an Air Force base, I believe, in Delaware, where at the time the focus was on experimental or not yet released to the public aircraft. Contact stated he had not seen, to this present day, any new aircraft that he had already seen 67 plot so years earlier. Might be a typo. For instance, he stated he saw and or worked on Black Hawk helicopters. The pilot's helmet's face shield were interactive. Every now known aircraft we the public now knows of he has seen. We know of our world only what the controllers want us to know. When I mention this information to anyone, it is dismissed and discarded. Nuggets of knowledge which I shared are a treasure and puzzle pieces to putting together on the accurate picture of our world. Most people turn off and turn away. Appreciate your hunt for knowledge and the truth. All the best. All right, there we go. This is an odd email again. Shared. Take from what you will or leave it, right? Oh, I wonder if I should get out of the sun. I'm getting roasted right here, even though it's kind of breezy. Hold on a minute. Gotcha. Bugger. Maybe I should go into the timber. The timber's way cooler. It's hot out here. I think I will. I'm going to move. I'm getting basted. I don't know if this wind's too much or not, but at least got a little bit of shared. Got to show you guys a wicked backdrop, right, of these mountains. These mountains behind me go forever. I mean forever, with nothing in between. Yeah, I'm gonna get the timber. We'll see if I'll out onto this or not. I don't even know how long I've been sitting here, but I got some cameras I gotta set out as I work my way down the valley. A few miles and set them along the route. Yeah, it is. Wind is ripping. If I don't, I'll say this right now, share my story at howtohunt.com, all right? Get your truth shared with me. And I have a feeling once I get home, I'm not sure when I'm going home, maybe tomorrow? Sarah's gonna have a whole bunch of podcasts lined up for me to sit down and talk with people again, all right? That's coming right up, so I'm gonna get up and get out of here. Oh, this trail camera just checked too. There's a few bucks on it, a few bears on it. Oh, this is gonna hurt standing up. Oh, I just did that cliff diving all day yesterday. Oh. Cliff diving and repelling all day long. I'm feeling a little sore from it. It's not like I've been doing it every day to build up to it, that's for sure. But anyway, I'm babbling. These mountains are so big. There's no easy hikes in this country, I'll tell you what. No easy hikes. Nothing's ever easy. Back later.